being a freelancer, how do you approach learning and what has worked for you?
Yeah. So I think by now I have one main client and I'm basically learning while doing, and they accept that as well. Like what happened was that I started working for them 3 years ago when it was just 2 people from their side, and they were both the founders. And that company has now just grown and grown, and it's growing like crazy at the moment. So I was like the one man IT department for now 3 years. Now we're onboarding other people as well. But it meant that I always had to automatically learn new things as well, which once again, outside, like if you're just doing your hobby projects, you're probably not going to be asked for these type of things. But a lot of the stuff that I just picked up were kind of from business needs, right? They came from this thing of, okay, now we need to connect to this API, or now we need to work with this, or we have to integrate that. And now we need a whole service area for all of our clients that needs to be connected to our API and stuff. And you start building more and more complex things. And that's the job thing, which I think is teaching me most in terms of like system designs and stuff. But when it comes to other frameworks, I completely agree with you as well. I love building, and I always love to figure out like what different thing can I build or can I learn? Because I always think that as a developer, the more things you know, the more times you're going to see the same concept repeated in a slightly different way. And it makes you understand it so much more. If you only learn JavaScript and only React, some things will just not click the same way as when you also learned like 2 or 3 other frameworks where you saw the same thing, but implemented in a different way. So I always try to learn a bit more, or like mobile development and so on. But it's definitely something you have to push yourself. And with that stuff, I also need a motivation. So for me, with mobile development, I just wanted to have my own app on the App Store. So then I have to figure out how can I do that? And then I could have done React Native with JavaScript, but the same way that you said, I don't want to use JavaScript for everything. I'd like to learn something new. So then it's Swift, then it's Flutter. It's definitely something you have to push yourself. And for me, I also need that a little bit extra motivation of like wanting to build something new and cool, but with, something to learn as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And when you think about learning new things, it almost seems like what you're saying is that the ability to learn is like a skill in itself, to be able to basically get good at learning so you could pick up new things. So are there any like strategies that do you have like a very structured approach to learning, or is it like very organic, like where you're like, let me just try to build this thing, and then once you encounter a problem, you're like, okay, let me tackle this? Because I know some people, they like to have very structured, like I'm going to outline all the things that I need to learn to get this done. What approach do you take?
Yeah, I think you and me might be quite similar with this. So this might be just echoing what you're saying. But for me, the main thing is always building. The thing that taught me the most was always to build the actual application that I had in mind originally. I think I usually start with courses. So I try to find out like who's giving me a sort of grand overview over the framework or technology that I want to learn. But I usually don't watch the whole course. I sort of go through the basics. And then when it comes to building, I already have something in mind that I would like to build. And then I get started with that so that when I then get stuck, I don't just have AI, but I also have a reference that I can go back to this course and look at like, I don't know, I have trouble data fetching or something like that. I'm going to check how to actually do this in the framework. But the main thing is always building.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned like courses, because like when I first started learning, I used to take the courses and I would just copy everything like the person on the course does. And then when something breaks, at that point, I was still so new to development. I had no idea how to fix it. So I'd literally delete the whole project and start from fresh, because I was like, I have no idea what's wrong. I have no idea what's wrong. But now I'm at a point where every time I see a course, I see what they want to build and I'll try to build it first. And then I'll watch the video to see like, how did they solve it? And if it's like, I don't do it all the time, but I try. This is how I like try to push my learning. And then like, if they did it way better than I do, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to learn. But if it's like, sometimes like, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I like my approach better. And, there's still, and again, it really depends. Like it's the topic like familiar to me or not. If it's something brand new, like for instance, I recently, just for fun, wanted to learn this concept of micro front ends. And I have a friend who's really deep into it. I know nothing about it. So for me, like, even if you told me how to start building one right now, I'd be like, not sure. So like, but it's just kind of cool, like that we live in the world where if you have an idea of something that you want to build or learn, you have all the resources available to you.